Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you can hear us and see us. We'll be starting in just a second. I need to do a mic test. Oh my goodness, OneDrive's popping up. Go away. There we are. Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3.
I should probably test my stuff. Let me just put this down.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, I should be good.
Send out the tweet. It is now sent. Oh, I don't want voice access. Not now. Stop. Go back. I turned the microphone on for turn off voice access. Okay. Typed voice sound recorder, right? I forgot they changed it. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Clap, clap.
Clap, clap.
Wait, is my broadcast off? My broadcast must be off. Why is my noise removal recording? Let me. Sorry, folks. Just a few more seconds. You know, Windows. Headphones, microphone. Ah, there it is. It is not on NVIDIA broadcast. There we go. Broadcast. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. All right, that should be good. Noise removal's off. Let me bring up the podcast notes. We are 283. All right. I guess I should just retweet my own tweet.
Oh, I closed the sound recorder because I'm silly.
Okay, I am now recording.
I'm now recording as well.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Windows Central Podcast, episode 283 for September 9th, 2022. Hey everyone, Daniel Rubino here, joined with Zach Bowden for another exciting episode of the Windows Central Podcast. We do not have a Jez Corden with us this week as he is on vacation somewhere on a beach apparently, which is always surprising. But not surprising is he's gaming on the beach with his Z Fold using Xbox Cloud Gaming. But anyway, we do have a big week, lots of news going on. We'll do, of course, Windows 11 news and updates over there. We'll talk about the Surface Duo updates, which apparently just rolled out. And Zach may actually talk a little bit about Android 12L if he's feeling a little bit, I don't know, leaky today, I should say. I had a quick editorial just talking about why we don't have foldable monitors yet instead of a foldable laptop, specifically a foldable portable monitor. I say this as I'm about to leave for a big international trip, and I would have really appreciated having one. Xbox had some news too. New Xbox dashboard, as well as the Elite Core controller. Bridge announced a really cool Surface Pro 8 accessory called the SP Plus Max, or Max SP Plus, whatever you want to call it. I'll explain what it is, why it's neat, who it's for, and if you should get it or not. I didn't get to review it yet, but this is kind of a mini review, you can call it. Speaking of reviews, we'll also do a review recap of what went up on Windows Central this week. Jez. Zach, how are you doing on this fine Friday?
I'm not too bad, given the circumstances in the UK right now. How are you?
I'm fine because nothing in the UK is bothering me. But I guess, yes, we won't mention the big incident there as it's all over the news. But let's, I'm in the middle of packing as I leave, in theory, tomorrow night for Israel. There's still some loose ends that need to be taken care of. There's a lot of paperwork to get into Israel and leave. Apparently, you need a letter to leave, which is always kind of funny. But I'm trying to pack and find all the little gadgets and gizmos that I want to bring, and it's turning out to be a little bit challenging. I'll do a photo when I get there of everything that I packed and like kind of why I'm using it. The big difficulty was choosing which laptop to use.
Right.
But I am going to use the HP Dragonfly G3, which just came out. It does have 5G, so I'm going to get the eSIM for it. And I'll talk about why. I'm going to probably review it while I'm flying and all that kind of stuff. So we'll talk about it maybe next week or the week after. Anyway, let's get to the main news there. What happened in Windows 11 land this week?
There was a new dev build, which is usually the case on a weekly basis, but this week they finally added back a couple of things that they had taken away from public builds a few months back. Those two features being the new tablet optimized taskbar and the updated sort of system tray behavior along with it. So for those who don't remember, back in whenever it was a few months back, Microsoft rolled out an insider build which had essentially the Windows 10X minimized taskbar interface. You remember Windows 10X when the Surface Neo was announced? The taskbar would minimize and you'd swipe up on it to see you're running apps and stuff, and then you'd swipe up on it again to open starts. They had brought that to Windows 11 briefly in the insider builds, and then they took it away and they said, we're going to keep working on it, we'll bring it back when it's ready to be brought back. This week was that time, and apparently nothing has changed with it. I've taken a look at it. I've asked people, I was like, is there anything actually different with it? The answer is no, it's pretty much the same. Maybe it's more stable. Maybe that's what they were referring to when they pulled it earlier in the year. But functionally, it's exactly the same. It looks exactly the same. So that's certainly interesting. The system tray updates are back with it. They go hand in hand as far as I'm aware. And what these system tray updates really are a rewrites of how the system tray functions for overflow icons. As of right now, you cannot drag apps between the taskbar and the overflow menu. With this new system tray, Microsoft does say they're going to bring that back in the future, but as of right now, in the latest dev channel build, that functionality isn't there if you have the new system tray. Visually, it looks pretty much exactly the same, but the way you can tell that you've got the new system tray is, one, you can't drag icons between the taskbar and the overflow menu, and two, icons that are on the taskbar, the overflow icons that you've decided to put there through the settings app, will have the modern highlight effect, whereas the old version sort of has the Windows 10 style highlight effect. Very minor detail there, but a very important one if you're a UI nerd like me. But there you are. That's basically all the changes into the taskbar. That is now back in testing, which should mean it will ship on 22H2 next year in one of the moment updates, which we're expecting. I don't think it'll be in the first moment update. I'm doubting it'll be in the second one, although I could be wrong. I think this might be more of a summertime moment thing, but that remains to be seen. Also in the build was an update to the settings app, which now features a number of nice sort of baby animations that play when you switch between all the different categories on the left side menu. Just a small minor detail there that sort of just makes things feel nice and fluid and modern. And I think that's it. It's not noted in the change log, but I saw a few people mention on Twitter. There's also an update to Windows Spotlight, which when you use with the Windows Spotlight feature now for your desktop wallpaper, the icon that appears for finding out what this wallpaper is has an updated UI, and it shows you different wallpapers along the bottom now as well, and gives you descriptions and stuff. So that's pretty cool. But that's all the new stuff in this week's dev channel build, which is build 25197. Once again, most of this is pretty much testing for features that will likely ship in moment updates on top of 22H2 next year. So that's super interesting. We're nowhere near ready to test the next sort of client release of Windows yet. That won't be happening for at least a year at this point. But that's pretty much all of the news for the Windows 11 builds this week.
Well, that was kind of exciting. I actually did see they did post, of course, the GIF or GIF, however you want to pronounce it, of the new settings with the animations and a little. It just looks way better. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but yeah, there's more movement in the settings when you're switching between them, and it's detail, right? It's these small details that they're finally getting around to doing, and it's adding that extra polish. It's not, and it doesn't rise to the level of Mac OS, which you and I have discussed, which is just too much. I hate the bouncy icons. It's so goofy looking to me. This is not that. It's just like these small little changes as you're switching menus, and it really helps with kind of usability and just making the experience feel a lot more organic. So I'm really happy that they're doing this, and again, paying attention to the detail, adding the polish to Windows 11, which is going to be a project I imagine it takes a couple of years. Even if we get Windows 12. and we have a previous podcast talk about what that would be like. We're not expecting, again, a major UI overhaul. Instead, there may be some other changes and new features that come along with it. So I'm kind of excited to try this stuff out. Although, I've talked about on the Insider program, I currently don't really run any of my PCs on the beta or dev channel. I'm just using kind of release preview. I'll stick with that for a while too. But yeah, I don't know. Looks good.
Yeah. Well, there was also some Surface Duo updates this week, though these builds are probably even more minor than the desktop build. The changelogs aren't live yet for these, but these are expected to be just security updates. In size, they appear to be quite small. I think the Surface Duo 2 update is 12 megabytes. So if there are any fixes, there'll be minor fixes, but I think the focus really this month is on security updates. But good to see the Duo 1 and the Duo 2 are still being serviced around the same time every month. They've not slipped on that schedule, which is really nice to see. Of course, why are these updates so tiny now? It felt like a few months back we were getting quite significant updates every month, and that was true. But just like last year with the Surface Duo 1 and Android 10, Microsoft is finalizing Android 12L now for the Duo 2 and Duo 1, so they're sort of heads down doing that. And so the updates that are running out to the public have sort of suffered as a result, because all of their attention is on polishing up the next major release of Android for Surface Duo, which I'm told is almost ready. They are targeting October. That October/November is what we're hearing, but I think they would like to have it out by October. So this in theory should be the last month that we get an Android 11 update. The next time we get a Surface Duo update, it should be the major Android 12.0 one, assuming that doesn't slip and gets pushed into November, of course. But October/November is what they're aiming for. And I think I've mentioned a couple times what we're sort of expecting in that update, but I'll give us a rundown again. From sources, I'm hearing that Android 12L for Surface Duo 1 and Surface Duo 2 will be the first time that Microsoft sort of applies its own design language to Android. Up until now, with Android 10 and Android 11 on the Duo, it's really been stock Android, right? The UI hasn't really changed much. It's certainly been using Google's own material design language. 12L, I'm told, for the first time, incorporates Microsoft's design language. So certain elements, such as the notification shade or the multitasking switcher, have like blurred effects similar to, I guess Mika effects is called a Windows 11, but blurred effects are certainly part of this release now. The actual notification sort of quick actions area on Android now looks a lot like the control center on Windows 11, I'm told. The settings app is being updated to make it look a little bit more like the Windows 11 one as well. All the icons from the Windows 11 settings app are supposed to be in the settings app on Android 12L. And even the Microsoft launch is getting a slight tweak. So boxes in the activity feed look more like, notification boxes on Windows 11, as well as toggles, toggling things on and off. Those toggles now look like the Windows 11 toggles. Small details like that, which I think will go a long way to making the Surface Duo feel more like a Microsoft product. All of that is expected for Android 12L, and I'm super excited about it. I'm a UI guy. I'm always excited about UI updates. So hearing that they're essentially trying to sort of bring Windows 11 designs to Surface Duo excites me greatly. They're also planning, I've heard that there's a new pen menu coming, similar to the pen menu on Windows 11 once again. So as of right now on the Surface Duo, if you pair a Slim Pen 2, you can configure the buttons to do certain things, but there's no sort of default configuration option for when you click the top button. It brings up essentially a bar for shortcuts. That's what happens on Windows 11. When you turn the pen on, there's a pen menu which you can customize and add your own apps into it and stuff. I'm told that is coming to Surface Duo 2 as well. So when you click on the top button, there will be a menu that slides up, and you can configure it to say, OneNote, maybe Photos, Whiteboard, and some other app that takes ink of your choice. And you can customize that and move them around, which is really cool. What else am I hearing? I don't know if this will be in the first sort of build of Android 12L or if this will be coming in a future update once 12L is out. And Walking Cat originally tweeted this name, so that's what got me looking for it originally. But there's a thing called Duo Connect, which I think might be called Cloud Connect now. But this is essentially a cloud-based continuum where if you plug in the Surface Duo to an external monitor, you can punch in credentials to log into a Windows 365 cloud PC and use Windows on a bigger screen through your Duo. That unfortunately will be enterprise only, so that's not going to benefit you or I. But if you're an enterprise customer using Duos and you have Windows 365 PCs, you will maybe be able to take advantage of that, and that's going to be quite interesting.
Is that, you say it's enterprise only? Is that because currently, can just a regular person like you and I sign up for the cloud
I don't
Windows thing?
know. I think you need to have a Microsoft Enterprise subscription of some kind to be able to even be eligible to subscribe to it. I'm not 100% sure, but the reason I mention it's Enterprise only is because I was under the impression that as a consumer, as an individual consumer, you can't just subscribe to Windows 365. You need to be part of a business running Microsoft 365 Enterprise subscriptions to be able to utilize that. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think I am, because otherwise I would probably have one by now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds cool. Yeah, the polish again on Android 12L with them bringing more design language over from Windows 11, I think is going to be really nice. I'm curious about any other UI changes or actual features of 12L. One of the 12L features, well, it's actually part of Android 12, of course, is accent colors that match your wallpaper, and kind of gives you a choice. So that's something that we should have available, assuming Microsoft doesn't pull it out, because Microsoft can pull out features if it doesn't really want them. So hopefully it doesn't. Still no word on can we change our own icons to different icon packs, Zach?
Yeah, so
Nothing.
no word. So I do not believe you'll be able to change icons, but you will finally be able to change accent colors, because that's an Android 12 feature that is just part of Android 12. So Microsoft, can incorporate that, and yeah, so that will work as you expect. So when it does, like on Windows, it will look at your wallpaper and it will take I think it takes the most dominant color and then sets that as your accent color, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Looks good. Hopefully looking forward to it. October makes sense. October tends to be, Microsoft month.
Yeah.
They tend to announce new stuff. Surface events tend to happen in October, although they've happened in other months too, but it's usually in the fall range. So, I hope they get it out on time. That's always an issue. We saw, of course, Android 11 delayed for Surface Duo 1 for quite some time. The problem, of course, is they need to get it out before like December, because as December rolls around, people start taking time off and things start to slow down again. But it sounds like they got a little buffer, at least with November, to get things approved, to work out bugs and everything like that. But if they can get it out for October, that'd be great. Even if they announce it for October, that's coming like real soon, that'd be kind of cool too. And they can, throw up a video. For those curious, we talked about last week about the status of Surface Duo 2 inventory. And I mentioned how we've reached out to Microsoft for a comment on this story. We still have not received a response. They are apparently still trying to track down someone who would know this, but there, it is that August, September timeframe. People are apparently taking time off and all that kind of stuff. So I'm still waiting on that response and trying to see what's going on there. Are they going to restock? Is that the end of the line for Duo 2 in terms of hardware? Is there going to be another push for 12L, which of course I don't think they would actually tell me. But I don't know. Stick a pin in that. Hopefully we'll hear about it soon. As I mentioned, I will be away next week or this coming week, hopefully in Israel, but I should still be able to, write and publish. And I will be back for the podcast on Friday, so no worries there. But we'll follow that story and see what's going on. All right, next up, I just had a quick editorial that went up so as I'm packing for this trip, and I said I'm, trying to find all the little gizmos I want, and trying to figure out what they use in Israel for plugs, making sure I find all my plugs. They're going to use my Razer GAN charger, which is a high capacity charger, so I can do my laptop and accessories. And it stinks being like a very techie person, because you have like the charger for your Ring. If I go to bring my Apple Watch, I need a charger for that. So I'm trying to find everything I need. And one of the things that came up was a portable monitor. So I've reviewed these in the past, and one of the ones I really like is made by Lenovo. It's called the M14, Lenovo ThinkVision M14T. T for touch. They also make an M14 non-touch, and there's now actually an M14D, which I haven't received yet for a review. It's the only difference is it's 16:10 aspect ratio now, so it matches all of Lenovo's ThinkPad laptops, which makes sense. So that when you put them side by side, they're going to line up perfectly and it'll look like a new monitor. And me, I love 16:10 over 16:9. So anyway, I was going to bring the M14T, and I probably still will, but the problem I have with these things is they're very delicate, right? All your, these things they try to make them very thin and light. That's the whole point of it, right? You don't want a 5-pound monitor that you bring with you. You want something that's really light and thin. And in doing so, though, if it's 14 inches, you're talking about a 14-inch slab of glass, thin glass. And in this case, with a digitizer built in, because the M14T not only has touch, but has pen support as well. And it's a cool thing because the laptop I'm bringing, the Dragonfly G3, is non-touch, right? So if I want to use touch or inking, I can now do that, but I'm mostly going to be using it for simply triaging. It's nice to look at maybe a document on one side while I'm writing on the other side without having to, switch. Sure, you can snap windows, but on a 14-inch laptop, 13.5-inch laptop, it gets a little tight and it's not as convenient. So I broke one of these before. I don't know if you were there for maybe
I think I
Dan
was.
Lancaster was. Okay. Yeah, that's right, because we had a hotel room and we had to switch rooms. And so we just threw our stuff into our suitcases, and we literally used 5 minutes. We just went upstairs and I threw the monitor into my luggage, and I had some clothes in there and stuff like that, but it was nothing big. And like I didn't throw the luggage. But when I opened it in the next room, the screen was cracked.
Damn.
Because yeah. And I was like, wow, okay, this thing is now useless. And so they're super delicate. And so they're it's a challenge to travel with them, right? I never check my luggage when I'm flying for obvious reasons, but even still, like, putting this in your actual suitcase, like, you're going to have to be careful. So then I was like, wait, why don't we have foldable portable monitors yet? Like, we have Asus and Lenovo, of course, doing the foldable laptops. And I get that. That's Intel and all that kind of stuff. But wouldn't it be just easier, I don't know, to take out all the laptop stuff, make a portable foldable display? It would be cheaper to make. It'd be simpler to make. It'd be easier to service. It would actually be a little bit more, I would say, pragmatic. And they would sell more, I would think, because I don't think a lot of, Lenovo's X1 Fold starts at $2,500, and Asus theirs starts at $3,500, which is weird because I'd argue that the Lenovo one is better. It's newer technology in it, but what have you. Like, so a lot of, and both companies I think are aware that, these things aren't going to be like the next iPhone. They're not going to sell a ton of them, but they're going to get them out there and sell. But I would think that a portable monitor that folds would be way more popular. A lot more people would, because it would fold in half, and obviously the screen would be protected from the outer shell, just like how the Z Flip works or the Galaxy Z Fold 4. So I don't know why we don't have this yet. It feels like they're putting the cart before the horse. Like, just do the easy thing first, sell those, and you can do the laptop too. I'm not saying not to do that, but like, Lenovo has a 16-inch Samsung OLED this panel that they're about to mass produce that folds. And when it stretches out, there's almost no crease to it. There's actually, I can't see the crease in it, and it has pen support. Like, just take that, make it thin. I don't know, sell it for $900 or $1,000. I mean, I know it's not going to be cheap, but it's going to be cheaper than a whole PC. And like, I would think enterprise people would love this kind of thing. Imagine taking a 16-inch monitor that just folds up like a little book. You throw it in your bag. The reason why these things are popular, like I said, yeah, I used it for obviously the second screen, more space, but a lot of enterprise people use it for like presentations. When you're going to like, oh, there goes my voice. When you're meeting with a customer, like, yeah, you could do like a PowerPoint, and like a lot of times they just spin the laptop around. Hey, here's my screen, look at it. But the use of a portable monitor is you plug that in, and the people can see the monitor in the presentation while you're behind the laptop talking and using your notes. Like there's a lot of uses for this, including, or you can put them vertically, and a lot of programmers and developers like to use that because you get like a longer display and stuff like that. So there's like way more use case scenarios for this. And I don't know, I'm just wondering out loud, like, why don't we have these? I'm sure they're going to make them, right? I don't think Lenovo isn't like, oh my God, that's a brilliant idea. We never thought about that. But like, I'm just wondering why we don't, just like why they're not just doing that now, or maybe co-announce that that's coming out. I don't know. What do you think about this? Would you buy a foldable portable monitor?
I genuinely had this thought last week as we were talking about the two foldables. Like, why hasn't, it's like this should have been the first step, and then we went to all-in-ones, essentially, is how I would have viewed it. But no, I guess that's not what they thought. I can only assume maybe it's because of durability. Maybe if there's no real PC or like battery in there to keep things from flexing and whatever else, then perhaps that could damage the screens. I don't know. I really don't. But yeah, like, because this would make them more affordable as well, and I would certainly be more open to buying a foldable display before buying an all-in-one foldable tablet that costs $2.5 grand, because it's almost probably half the price. So you could probably do it for even more than that, or less than that. Yeah, it just it's I totally see the logic in it, and I think because closing it would protect it as well. So so if you did throw it into a bag and you squashed it along other things, it wouldn't get scratched or dented or cracked, which would be really nice. But yeah, I genuinely don't know why they've not. This is something you can ask HP or whoever, not HP, Lenovo or Asus next time when you talk to them.
Yeah, and we're on good terms with them, so it's we always have fun conversations. But I don't know why it just dawned on me as I'm packing, like because putting a 14-inch, or they make 16-inch ones now. Like they make some. The thing is, and it's a popular market. Just go on Amazon, type in portable monitor, you'll find a bunch of like no name, weird Chinese kind of off brands that are being sold. There's always ones on Kickstarter that are being done because there was a push to make 4K ones, which are now available. There's also ones to make ones with a high refresh display rates. So you can use it for gaming too, right? You can take it with you, connect up your Steam Deck and get a bigger screen with a high refresh rate. So there's like a lot of like, there's a big market for this stuff, and I don't see why just adding a foldable to it would be expensive, but what's the big deal? I don't know.
And just doing the displays, it sort of removes the boundary that's sort of set when you're trying to make a tablet, because we've moved on to these 17-inch tablets now for the foldables. 17 inches for a tablet is pretty big, almost to the point where I'd say that's not really usable as a tablet anymore. But if it was sold as just the display, you could go up to 24 inches, 25 inches and fold that in half. And that would still be a completely portable display because it would still fit in most laptop bags or a suitcase, and you'd be totally fine with that. So yeah, like I'm why haven't they done this? It just makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. Obviously, the size thing is dependent upon Samsung and or LG being able to make that. But you're right. There's technically, now we have a 17-inch one. Like, there's no reason why they can't go higher, and they probably will. But yeah, that's another use case where forget having a second monitor. You can make this your primary one when you go to your hotel room. You set up, and you got like now a 20 or 24-inch monitor. You can then, use the laptop, like just plug it in and just use it that way and just have a secondary monitor. Or if you're using a Surface Pro, you can even like, I don't know, there's like a million use cases for this, I would think. That'd be way more cool, especially for us that, right. I mean, you and I were joking years ago. We went to build and I brought the LG Gram 17 with me. And we're in the press room. And it was awesome because the 17's like, it's a huge display. It was just great on my eyes. I felt more comfortable working. I felt, I'm used to working behind a large display when I'm home. And so, I got that effect. But like, I would literally be able to take this thing, fold it, put it in my same little satchel with a laptop. Like, I wouldn't even need a backpack for this thing. So like, I don't know. Hopefully like I said, I'm sure they'll get around to it. Obviously, they're probably prototyping it. I don't see any technological limitations that are holding it back right now. I think it's just either they don't want to overlap because this is kind of, well, at least with Lenovo is not doing this with Intel. They're just doing it on their own. So there's technically no reason, but maybe they just want to, push people towards the PC thing. Because it might undermine the argument to get a foldable PC, but not really. I don't know, because it's still, you wouldn't have to take a laptop and a foldable display. You would have it all in one device. So why not, right? And it's just a matter of time before HP, Dell, or Lenovo, or even Microsoft come out with something like this. Even Microsoft, I'm surprised, haven't come out with. Everybody here wants a Surface Studio display, but like, why not just a small portable display too? Right?
Microsoft has weirdly steered clear of the displays market. I mean, obviously they put displays on their products, but they don't sell like displays. A lot of their displays are, as far as I'm aware, custom, right? They're usually custom cut or custom sizes, so custom resolutions certainly. So maybe that's why. Maybe it'd just be too expensive.
Yeah, but I don't think that has ever stopped them before. It hasn't stopped Apple. So, speaking of Apple, I guess let's segue quickly. The iPhone came out, iPhone 14.
It did.
to recap, it was iPhone 14. What's they're not calling it a Max now, right? They're
So
calling it
iPhone 14, iPhone
Plus.
14 Plus, iPhone 14
Yeah,
Pro, and then iPhone 14 Pro Max are the new iPhones.
got it. And as expected, there is no mini. The
Nope.
more interesting ones are the Pro versions,
Yep.
which get new cameras with 48 megapixel, which is up from, I believe, 12 megapixel or 15 megapixel,
Yep.
um, which have been the same cameras for like many years. So that's nice. They did get rid of the notch only to replace it with a longer punch out thing that is very, again, divisive. The thing is, of
I
course,
like
Apple
it.
can just they've proven they can get rid of, just get away with this stuff, right?
Mm.
Because you're going to see that and be like, oh, that's the iPhone.
It,
I think it still looks
there's more
dumb,
to
but
it than that, though. They get away with it because they go to the effort of making it nice. Because I tell you what, the notch was lazy, and I think everybody can agree the notch was just all they could do at the time. It wasn't something that they could really work around.
yeah.
Now that we've been, Android manufacturers have been doing hole punches in displays for a very long time now. So this is something Apple can finally sort of adopt and do. But they don't just do it; they do it, and they do it with style. They incorporate it as essentially a star feature of the new iPhone, where the punch hole, it's a pill. It's not a hole. It's a punch pill essentially. The gap in the display now, which is no longer attached to the very top, so there's like a display that goes all the way around it, so it does look more edge to edge, even though it technically isn't. The software knows about it, and they've built a software feature around it so that notifications and apps can actually go up there and expand the pill and detract the pill, and it becomes a dynamic sort of element of the UI. They actually call it a dynamic island, which is a ridiculous name, but the actual element is dynamic now, and it's fluid, and the animations are so satisfying. Just the whole thing is perfect, and this is a great example of top-down integration. These are the benefits of top-down integration. You have the hardware teams, the software teams working basically together, like side by side, on something like this. You don't see that on Windows devices. There's never a device that comes out which has a hardware element like embedded in the display. The only time it really was the Surface Dial. It's the only time that we've seen that happen on Windows, where Microsoft released hardware which played directly with software built into Windows. We've not seen that since, and it's a very rare thing for Microsoft. You don't really see it on Google's side either, although I think you might start to see that more as time progresses and they release their foldable and their tablets. But Apple are the king at this, and even Samsung hasn't done this. Samsung's been doing hole punches for a long time, and yes, they've done little things that you can make the hole punch sort of animate when there's a notification stuff, but not to the extent of what Apple's doing. The animation is just all of it. It adds to the point of the new iPhone 14 Pro, and that's why I pre-ordered one.
That's funny. So to be fair, I didn't watch the whole presentation. I barely know. So I don't really know what's new with these devices.
Sure.
I mean, I kind of know. In fact, I was on TD Ameritrade talking about what we're expecting. One of the interesting thing was the expectation was those Pro models were going to be $100 more,
Right.
and that didn't happen. They're not $100 more, which is a good move on Apple. And it would have been,
They are more expensive in Europe. The UK specifically, they are the Pro models are £150 more expensive, which is not great. And in other European countries, they're even more expensive. So yeah.
The big thing that I was shocked to learn about, which I was surprised because I was like, I didn't even know about it. So I've had small rant here. So I was on Sprint for many years for a data-only plan. If you remember, the HP NVX2 device came out, and there was a promotion with it where if you sign up with Sprint, you can get like unlimited 4G data for $15 a month. That was after if you agreed to like auto pay and all that kind of stuff, but that was obviously pretty cheap. So of course I used that, and it was just always my data thing. I just had it around $15 a month. Yeah, sure, awesome. Then T-Mobile bought Sprint, and whatever, the card was working, stuff like that. And then T-Mobile finally, like, they suspended the card because they're like, you need to swap your SIM out for 5G, which is a thing apparently. You can't to get 5G on some networks, you need a new SIM. And okay, so they send me a new SIM for free, whatever. I put it in, it doesn't work. So I call them, and you're like, oh, you can't use that on the NVX2. I'm like, brah, I'm not. I use that for about a month or two. I used it for about 2, 3 months before I got a new PC. I'm on a very brand new HP Dragonfly G3. Trust me, it works, And he's like, and he explained to me how on T-Mobile you can't like activate a SIM card unless it's an approved device and in an approved device. So
That's
they're like,
crazy.
yeah. So they're like, we can send you the Samsung Galaxy Book Go, which I reviewed. It's fine. It's a very budget PC, and it was going to be free. I was like, all right, fine. Send me that with the card and activate it because it would have been free. Whatever. None in stock. So he starts calling local stores, none in stock. So you can't actually do this deal. So now I'm like, can't I just walk into T-Mobile and just bring my SIM? You stick it in one of your dumb iPads,
Yeah.
activate it. I walk out with my card. And he's like, no, it doesn't work like that. And then apparently he explained to me, and I don't believe this, that even if I so they're sending me the Samsung Chromebook Go with an activated SIM. And what I'm going to do is I have 14 days to try it and return it, of course. And it was only $22, so it's not like I'm spending a lot. But I'm going to take the SIM, of course, and literally put it into one of my PCs. I can't see it not working. I've never had that happen before. I've had it happen with switching providers. You're going to use AT&T. It's an AT&T device. You put in a Verizon card. Yeah, that's although even that doesn't happen now. All these cards are universal, so I haven't seen that. But like in the early days, that would kind of happen. But I'd be shocked if that's what happens. Of course, it does. I got to cancel the account because I'm not going to be locked into a Chromebook Go. Oh my God. Anyway, so the reason I'm bringing this up is, of course, eSIM, right? So eSIM seems to be the solution for this stuff. Of course, T-Mobile doesn't have that as an option either for this situation. So T-Mobile is just a mess. But the reason I bring this up is the iPhone 14 in the United States doesn't have a SIM card. No SIM card slot, no physical slot. It is strictly eSIM, and it's dual eSIM at least. I don't think this affects many people, but obviously if you're into tech and you're like me and you carry multiple devices or you like to swap devices out, this is going to be a pain because popping a SIM out, throwing it to another device takes all of a minute. Doing eSIM, not a minute. I don't even know how you transfer an eSIM to another device. It's going to be a thing, right? And what's weird, of course, is I said the United States because apparently outside the U.S. it does have a physical SIM. So I don't know if this is again Apple colluding with the carriers who actually were against eSIM for a while, or this is Apple just being Apple. The reason some carriers were against it is because some carriers now are doing a thing where they give you because it's eSIM and you can just sign up online and scan a QR code and activate it that way. They can give like a 1 week trial for free, and you can just try out the network on your phone without them sending you a physical SIM or anything like that. So I understand like the value there, but I don't know. What do you think about this trend? Do you think we're going to just get rid of physical SIM cards altogether?
Looking at history, every time Apple takes away a thing, Android OEMs are quick to follow. They will mock them at first and then they'll do it. Samsung is the king of that. Like, oh yeah, you took away the headphone jack? That's a stupid idea. iPhone, what is it, Samsung S10 or S11 or S20, whatever it was, takes away headphone jack. What was the other one? Okay, it's happened many times. I just, off the top of my head, I don't remember what they've done, but they've taken away a few things here and there. Oh, the headphones in the box, those disappeared. Then what was it? The brick charger. The charging brick that was taken away, and now the SIM tray is taken away. I'm pretty sure other OEMs will follow. The problem with it though, and it's the reason why Apple haven't done it elsewhere, is because elsewhere in the world, carriers have been much slower to adopt eSIM. My carrier does actually take or offer eSIM options, but their business is still primarily SIM. And I would even if I've only ever used SIMs. I wouldn't even really know where to begin to actually start using eSIM on my devices, and I don't think I'd even want to. But I think you mentioned you don't know why carriers are against it. I wonder if one of the reasons they were against it is because eSIM kind of removes the ability to have like carrier locked devices, because an eSIM can be programmed. The whole point of an eSIM is that you can program it with whatever carrier you want. Would they put a software lock on the eSIM so you can't do that? That's ridiculous if true, because that's complete e-waste at that point. I
don't know. That's a good question. I would say right now we really don't have, everybody sells unlock devices now. Even like Surface
Sure.
Duo
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
is completely unlocked.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's that gave me pause, because it's someone just mentioned comments. Yeah, it took me 20 minutes on the phone to get SIM transferred. For those who swap phones a lot, it's going to be a pain. Yeah, because it's easy. It's kind of easy to set up initially on a blank phone. And like I said, for people who just buy
One
an
phone.
iPhone
Yeah.
and they stick with it
Yeah.
for 2 years, it's fine, right? You're not going to really notice much. But for people who like to swap phones, or, I don't know what's going to happen with
Can
laptops,
you
because
SIM
laptops
jack
do
an
easy
eSIM? I guess
too.
you can, right?
Yeah, that's something I haven't really looked into. But yeah, now you're talking about
Security. Yeah.
a software only thing. Technically, maybe might be better security. I don't know. Yeah, of course, you can SIM jack a physical SIM, so it's not,
Yeah.
um, that secure either. I don't know. It's controversial. So I'm gonna. I didn't pre-order anything for Apple. I am looking to get the iPhone 14 Pro. Um, there's no mini, of course. And, I figured, what the heck, I'll go for the bigger version this time with a 120 hertz refresh, which, of course, the regular iPhone 14s are still 60 hertz, which is hilarious. It's an $800 phone
I
with a
know.
60 hertz refresh rate, but people rag on Android when it does that. Uh, but Apple, again, can get away with that. Though, to be fair, Apple's refresh and the way their displays and everything work, their 60 hertz still feels better off
It
than
does. Yeah.
a lot of Android devices.
Um,
So,
The one thing I
yeah,
also want to briefly talk about is the pre-order process, which I saw a lot of people on Twitter complaining about. I don't know who all these people are trying to pre-order through Apple.com. Every time I've pre-ordered an iPhone ever, I've done it through Amazon, and it's been amazing. And I get it on day one, and there are no issues, there's no delays or lags. It's just pre-order now, done. It's in my Amazon account, and it ships and comes on the first day. I was, I think, like 15 minutes or 10 minutes late, and I still just pre-ordered it for day one. Like, a lot of people on Twitter seem to go straight to Apple.com and try to pre-order through Apple. Why are you doing that? There are so many better places to pre-order an iPhone these days. And also, I just wanted to point it out because it's an issue we never have with Surface. Like, the pre-order process for Surface, piece of cake. At Microsoft.com, up, because nobody's there. So I'm just sliding through, pre-ordering what I need to, and there's no issues whatsoever. But yeah, no, it's funny because you see like the pre-order, everyone's wakes in America. You have to wake up at 5 a.m. or something in some parts of America to pre-order the new iPhone. It was 1 p.m. here. I was like, I'm gonna have some lunch. I'm gonna pre-order the new iPhone. It's gonna be a great time. A lot more chill, especially when you go through Amazon.
yeah. I said I don't. I've done it in the past, but what I'm doing in this case, since I returned the Z Fold 4, although I still got to mail it out, but it's all boxed up and ready to go, so I got to drop it off at FedEx. But so I'm gonna get the refund for that. I'm probably going to just take my iPhone 12 mini and Z Flip 3 into an Apple store. So the last time I did this, so when you do it online here, you can trade in one phone for the new phone. But when I've gone to the stores before, I was able to trade in more than one device. I would bring an iPad, I'd bring in a phone, I'd bring in this. And so I'm going to see if I can do that to save even more money off of it. If I can't, I can't, whatever. But like, I'm in no huge rush to get this phone, and I figure I'll wait till everything calms down. But yeah, so that's a big thing. Someone's asking, by the way, a side tangent here as to the side tangent. What's up with my skin tone today? So, well, maybe that's actually just how I look. I don't know. But I am using a new camera. It's called Nexigo Iris, Nexigo Iris. It's a brand new camera. I'm in the midst of reviewing it. It is a 4K camera. It is huge. It has, quote unquote, the largest sensor of any webcam on the market today. It is about 3 times the size of any normal webcam. It even has a HDMI plug directly, which is kind of cool. It's great hardware. The software, though, is not as interesting as like the Lumina AI, which is what Zach is using. I would say you have to kind of do a lot of manually adjusting of this one with sliders, and even then, although there are a lot of sliders, they don't have a lot of the specific fine-tuning ones for red, green, and blue hues. So yeah, I'm just playing around with it. So I did just adjust it more, but it's a good camera. Like, but they need better software. This is always the case with these things.
I would
Dell's the
say
same way.
you do look more true to life versus the other cameras, which often make you seem
Yeah,
a little bit more tanned than you are normally.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. and that's why my impression is so far, this is like a very just regular kind of camera
Yeah.
versus like the Lumina does give you more of a smartphone look to it, which is not bad. It's just a different preference. So, but yeah, getting back to so iPhone 14 Pro, so I'll try go pick one up. There's also, of course, the new Apple Watches, S8 series, whatever. The big thing was the new Apple Watch. What are they calling it? It was going to be called the Pro. That's what everybody thought it was going to be
Apple
called, but now
Watch,
it's not the Pro.
the ugly Apple Watch Ultra.
Ultra, yeah.
Yeah,
So 49 millimeters. That's a
it's a
big
big
old
boy.
watch,
Yeah.
but it's square, so it kind of
It's
balances
it's
out. I
it's
don't.
not just square though. It's square and bulbous. It's the ugliest watch I think I've ever seen.
Uh, I again, I haven't like really followed much about it. I just know it's yeah, it gets longer battery life, always on display, and has more. It can go, you can go scuba diving with it. I guess it's kind of cool. Of course, as people pointed out on Twitter, a lot of just people in coffee shops will be wearing it just to flex, because especially in America, more people are in love with the idea of being athletic than actually being athletic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's for the Apple stuff. So I don't know. We won't be doing too much coverage of it, but we'll talk
Yeah,
about
we'll probably
these.
talk more about Apple's next event, which is where we expect them to announce new MacBooks and iPads, and because that's more of a comparison to Surface, really, with Surface Pro and Surface Laptop, which we are also expecting to get new versions in the next handful of weeks. So it's going to be an interesting October, I think.
And Apple is going to have an event too, supposedly in October, to
Yeah,
announce
so
new
yeah,
iPads
yeah,
and
that's what I just
MacBook.
said.
Oh yeah, sorry. Sorry. We keep doing this. I
Yeah.
think because we're multitasking
Hmm.
here. I'm looking at what's next. All right. The next story I also have no idea about because I don't really use my Xbox anymore. Sorry, Microsoft. Uh, the new Xbox dashboard. This is kind of funny because you, me, and Jez have had calls before where we're doing planning, and I'm like, coming with editorial ideas. I'm like, Jez, you should do an editorial about how Microsoft should do another Xbox dashboard because it's been like a year or two, and because that's the joke. They always change the dashboard. You think Windows has changed a lot. I mean, Xbox seemingly does it every other year. And then, sure enough, a couple of weeks later, this story came out about now there's a new dashboard. So, what's new about it? Have you tried it? And what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I've not tried it yet because it's only rolling out. It's like A/B testing, but there's multiple groups. There's like ABCD testing, if you will. But essentially, yes, there's a revised dashboard UI coming. It's not entirely different from the old one. The layout's a bit different. I'll highlight some of the Jez highlighted for me some of the key differences. There's a new revamped jump back in row, which populates a list of your most recent games and apps at the top, which runs along the sort of top middle of the UI. A visual search bar and settings menu can be found at the top right of the screen, which should improve ease of access for new users who aren't familiar with the guide menu. A new permanent Microsoft Store button, which will be found on the home screen next to 3 dynamic content tiles, as is typical. Those 3 dynamic content tiles are also known as ads to many of you. But we've had this conversation before. A lot of people refer to them as ads and get annoyed. But I see them more as recommended boxes for things that you might want to check out, because the only things that show up there are games, and you're on a console. Rarely are you seeing things that aren't games there. So I don't really. These are the kind of good ads, in my opinion, where they sort of just recommend you other things to try out on the device you just bought.
Yeah.
Then there's also there's other aspects being updated of the dashboard to form all in line with the new styles. We've seen this recently with the revamp for Xbox Games and App Screen. That's referring to an update to the Games and Apps app, which is now more updated. I can't remember what's new with it. It's not too much new with it. And there will be curated content categories below the main screen as you scroll down. So yeah, like I said, not a huge update. The design language is pretty much exactly the same. It's still using tiles, so this is still the only Microsoft product right now which is technically using. They're not live, but it's certainly the tile sort of grid interface on the dashboard. But to be fair, I think it makes sense on Xbox because it's used. You navigate with a controller, so these sort of, and especially usually most people are sitting in a living room space anyway. Maybe 6 feet, 7 feet away from their TV. So, you're further away, so it does make sense for these boxes to be quite large so you can actually see them. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's basically all of the news regarding the new Xbox dashboard. I just thought it was interesting to mention because, as Dan mentioned, we were talking about this recently. Because back in the day, Xbox would update that dashboard a lot. There would be a new UI almost once a year. And they sort of settled the last few years. They've settled on what they have currently, and this is certainly a sort of iteration on that design. It's certainly not a brand new design, Xbox dashboard. It's a sort of just an update to the existing UI, which sort of moves things around and whatnot. So still nice to see. But hey, there you are. Also in Xbox land, there was a new Xbox Elite controller announced. It's still Series 2, but they call this one the Elite Series 2 Core Edition. And the difference is it comes with less things. The standard Elite Series 2, which I think was $180 or $170, came with a charging case, a charging dock, a bunch of different sort of thumbsticks and buttons that you can swap out using the magnets and whatnot, which was really cool. Back paddles as well. The core version comes with none of that. It comes with a controller. It comes with the ability to adjust the thumbsticks, that little tool, and it comes with a USB-C cable. And that's all you get. It's also white and black instead of just black now. And Microsoft does say they've improved the build quality. One of the issues I had with my original Elite Series 2 and Series 1 for that matter was the build quality was not great. Mine essentially fell apart after a year of normal use. I never threw it or dropped it, but the bumper on the top just came apart, and the stick started to feel all sticky, and one of them became loose to the point where you could like flick it, and the stick would go back and sort of wobble like that. It was not smooth. It was not great at all, especially for first-person shooters. So I've been using what have I been using? I've been using the Xbox 20th anniversary controller, which is a nice controller. It's pretty cool. It's got the translucent casing and stuff. I've been using that, and that's been great. But I've certainly missed the back pedals. I used to love, setting the back pedal to jump in Halo. I've since trained myself to use the bumper for jump. But yeah, that stuff was great on the Elite controller, and I'm hoping this new Series 2 actually fixes the build quality issues that the first two Elite controllers had. Not that I'm planning to buy one. It's $130 still. It's a bit too much for me, I think, for another Elite controller. I've bought two of them so far, and they've both been terrible. I think I'm alright. I'll wait for the Series 3, which may or may not come out next year.
Interesting. Yeah, the 20th anniversary controller. I have that behind me. You can't see it because it's blurred out, but I have that. And then Razer sent me the matching stand, that charging stand that goes with it, which looks really sweet. So yeah, I'm a big fan of all the limited edition controllers that they come out with.
And sorry, go on, finish the thought.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the last thing they announced is the Elite Series 2 controller, well, with Core, I think, or maybe not Core, I don't know. That Elite controller is finally going to Xbox Design Labs. So you can now customize your own Elite controller, which is shockingly wasn't possible before, but you can now do that as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, the Xbox Lab stuff is it's a pretty remarkable thing, because you have to have a huge setup and sell enough volume to justify doing that. And maybe they didn't have that with the Elite controller, which probably also requires, more detail and finishing in time to assemble.
Yeah. I think it works for controllers, because controllers, I think Microsoft probably moves a lot more controllers than you would think, only because they break easily, and you buy
and dummies multiple. Like me like to buy the limited edition ones, even though I don't use them.
Collect them. I would guess maybe Xbox controllers is probably Microsoft's most moved physical piece of hardware that they sell. It can't be anything else, right? Yeah.
I mean, they got their keyboards and mice, but yeah, I still think
Xbox controllers beats that, because it's their only consumer line of hardware, essentially.
Yeah, I will say though, doing a Labs Elite controller custom job, be careful before you hit that buy button.
Why?
Because you're making your own color scheme, right? And you can easily make it bad.
Sure. Yeah.
So you got to be, I think most people will make it so they obviously like it and are confident in it. But, don't forget, when you get it in physical, they have a really good preview screen, obviously, but you just want to make sure that sometimes too much choice becomes problematic.
Yeah.
You're there for hours, like, no, wait, should I do this? What about the red on the back? And yeah, it can become a thing, and it could be an expensive mistake if you don't choose it correctly. Let's move on. Bridge, BRYDGE. They're a popular accessory maker. They like to make keyboards for devices without keyboards, or in this case, devices with a keyboard that's an extra cost. So they've been making Surface Pro keyboards as well as ones for the iPad for many years. They're the ones that it's like a physical keyboard, but then it has like these like little hinge slots, and you slide the Surface Pro into it, and it kind of turns the Surface Pro into a more of a laptop type device. So they announced the SP Plus for Surface Pro 8 last year in November. I reviewed it. It's a cool little device. It adds some weight because it has a battery in it. So you need to charge the keyboard separately. It is Type C at least, so that's good. But because it's battery powered and it uses Bluetooth to connect to the Surface Pro, and it does this on iPad too. And Bluetooth's hit and miss for some people. Sometimes it's very good, but the general thumb is with keyboards is you do run into that issue that there could be some lag, or sometimes you have that weird thing where you hit a letter and then it just goes like L, 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 and it'll just keep doing that endlessly. In fact, Fisher just talked about this, Michael Fisher and Mr. Mobile, in his latest video comparing the new ZenBook Fold 17 with the X1 Fold. In his review of the ZenBook 17 Fold, he talked about the Bluetooth kind of being an issue and kind of causing these problems. So the good news is they announced a new one called the the SP Max SP Plus for Surface Pro 8. So it's the Max version. So it is more expensive. It costs $230, but this is a very different kind of accessory for your Surface Pro 8. So it's a cover that goes around the device itself that's very rugged. It meets the mil-spec standards for 4-foot drops. And then it has a keyboard base, which is pretty heavy to balance off the top Surface Pro 8. And it attaches magnetically with very, very strong magnets. And what's neat about it, so the whole thing, it weighs a lot. I haven't weighed it myself, but when I do for the review, I'll mention it. So it obviously adds a lot of weight, but it also adds a lot of rugged protection to it. What's cool about it, though, is like when you open it, there's a pen silo now above the keys for the Surface Slim Pen. It doesn't charge it, unfortunately, but you could just stow the pen there. So when you fold it away, you're never going to lose the pen on this thing. That was an issue that the regular SP Plus has. There's no pen storage on that one. There's also no battery to this thing because how it works is really kind of clever. The cover inside has a tiny USB-C plug to it. And so you need to slide in the Surface Pro 8 from right to left. And when you put in the right side, you got to line up this little Type-C jack to your Type-C port. So you're going to lose one Type-C port on the Surface Pro 8. And it's a little tricky to line this up and get it in, and then you snap in the cover. I wouldn't recommend this. Isn't the type of system where you're going to want to take on and off daily because they sent me a prototype and I actually broke it. And it was like, I even didn't get to use it yet because it was a prototype, but I didn't have an instruction booklet and there was nothing there. So I just jammed it in and like I fit it on. I was like, why is this not fitting? And I pressed down. And then when I pulled it out, I noticed this little Type-C plug was floating around. I'm like, oh, okay. They fixed that now. Obviously, there's instructions that ship with the regular version, which they gave me too. And now on the inside of the back cover, there's huge directions like saying slide into the right, don't do this, so you can't miss it now. So I'm happy to report that. But so it's using direct Type-C to power the keyboard. So the power then goes through the cover, and there are little pogo pins that with the magnets that attach to the keyboard, and that allows the keyboard then to have backlighting drawn from the Surface Pro 8, kind of like the type cover does. But the other big thing is, for the first time, it now has a precision touchpad. So on the SP Plus, because you can't do precision touchpads with Bluetooth, that's like not the spec. The spec, it has to be like, it has to be a direct connect, basically. And so because of that, they're able to do this. This is now a large precision touchpad, which feels way better. So now you're not going to get any typing delays. There's no Bluetooth with this. So you're getting straight. So this thing, it turns your Surface Pro 8 into a straight up rugged laptop. But what's cool about it is it's still a tablet because you can still yank this thing off and now you have a tablet with the pen and you're good to go. So it's more like turning your Surface Pro 8 into Surface Book, which is really kind of rad. You can't reverse it, of course, like the Surface Book. And it doesn't like fold. Yeah, but it does kind of everything else. So if you really kind of want a rugged Surface Pro 8 that feels way more like a laptop, the SP Plus Max or Max SP Plus, whatever they're calling it, is going to be your choice. It's a great keyboard. The trackpad feels nice, and like I said, because it's direct connect, everything is flawless and smooth on it, which is really kind of cool.
So, quick question:
Yeah.
does input go through the USB-C port? I'm guessing, right? That's the whole point.
Yes.
Why you're plugging it.
Yeah.
Are they not allowed to use the Surface Connect port for that? Is that just Microsoft's own proprietary connector? And
Yeah, I think it's proprietary. Also, it would have been a design challenge as well because then you have to have this large fin on the inside that would have to connect to the Surface Connect. But yeah, getting Surface Connect, I don't know really any third-party accessories.
Yeah,
although that's not entirely true. I do have a very useful, I don't even know if they sell it anymore. It's a Surface Connect Type-C cable. So it's a Surface Connect end, but on the other end is a Type-C, so you can plug it into anything, which is really kind of useful instead of the charger. But yeah, so you're going to lose one Type-C port. You still have the other one, which is Thunderbolt 4, of course. So whatever, you still got a lot of power with it. But yeah, and so I was asking, is it lappable? Oh yeah, it's very lappable. It's still a little bit top heavy, but no, this thing like straight up works in your lap. Like I said, it just feels like a rugged, 13-inch laptop now. It's pretty wild. But you still get the tablet functionality, so there's no sacrifices with it. So I think it's really rad. But I'll do a more in-depth review hopefully in the coming weeks. But the article is up now with my photos of it, so you can go check it out. And it is available on Amazon or from Bridge directly. Like I said, it's $230. Speaking of reviews, we'll do a quick review roundup here. The Razer Death Adder V3 Pro. So Rich Edmonds reviewed this. I have this mouse too, and well, he gives it 4.5 out of 5. He basically calls it the best gaming mouse you can buy. It's $150, so it's not cheap, but it is a really sweet gaming mouse. The Keychron Q5 review, easily customized this full-size behemoth mechanical keyboard, which Edmonds reviewed that one. That's a nice-looking keyboard, I have to admit. We're doing a lot more with keyboards lately. Rich is very good with that stuff. Oh, we finally reviewed Ooblets on Xbox. I remember that was shown off like 2 years ago. 2-3 years ago, felt like. Cole Martin reviewed that one. 3.5. What's it? Yeah, I'm reading that right. 3.5 out of 5 stars. So go check that. TP-Link Deco XE75 Pro Mesh Wi-Fi review. Cutting edge Wi-Fi 6E wireless in every room. So he's doing that's Ben Wilson. He's doing a lot of the TP-Link stuff. So if you're looking for home networking, there you go. I don't know the Anycubic Photon D2 review. Longevity at all costs. Oh, that's the printer, the 3D printer. That's Domenico Lamberti. I'm sorry, Dom, I'm not pronouncing your name properly. Yeah, he's a big user of 3D printers, so that is up. He didn't really love that one though. It's 3.5 out of 5. He thought it was overpriced. What else? Lenovo Slim 7 Pro X review, a feature-laden yoga alternative for creators that cost less than you might think. Yeah, this is the Slim series from Lenovo is really cool. There's a Slim 9 as well that's coming out. That's basically like the Yoga 9i. It's not a yoga. It's a straight-up laptop. So this one got 4 out of 5 for a review. We also reviewed the Rocat Cone XP Air wireless gaming mouse. Rapid charging with a gorgeous RGB dock. That is a cool looking mouse. Rocat makes really neat stuff. That's 4.5 stars out of that one. I wonder how much that mouse is. Yeah, so they're using so this is kind of funny. Their charging dock is like what Razer was using for the Basilisk 2 years ago, which is it's got 2 little pogo pins that stick magnetically to the mouse itself. In fact, this thing definitely looks like a Basilisk, what I assume is a more affordable version. Well, it's $170, so it's not that much more affordable. But I would go with the Basilisk itself because I think that's a better mouse. But that's me. And then, finally, the Kensington Smart View Organizing Laptop Riser. Actually, this went up. Did I talk about this last week? I don't think I did. Kensington made a laptop riser. This is an interesting accessory. So what this is it just if you only use your laptop as your main PC, so you don't have a desktop and you don't have an external monitor that you plug into as well, you would want a laptop riser. What it does is it elevates your laptop upwards, hence the name as a riser. But it lines it up so it looks like a regular monitor. It's lined up like straight ahead. And then you would use either a wired or wireless keyboard and mouse and just use the laptop that way. So Kensington does a lot of stuff for enterprise. And so they made this thing. And it's actually certified Microsoft Surface. So this is actually was made in collaboration with Microsoft and meets their program. So it works with all, like the Surface Laptop and Surface Laptop Studio and of course Surface Book, but you can use it for any laptop that's 16 inches or smaller basically. But and what you do is you put the laptop on top. It has a headphone rack on the back, so you can hang your headphones when done. And at the bottom, it has a special tray area where you can either put a Thunderbolt dock or your phone, whatever you want. And there's a little cable management system too, so you can run the dock's cables out the back and keep it all nice and tidy. So the idea here, of course, is you would have the laptop studio on top, your headphones on the back, and then the dock at the bottom. And then you plug in your accessories like your keyboard, your mouse, and a microphone to the dock. And then that's how you use your main device. It's pretty cool. It's like $80, but it's made out of metal. It's really quality looking, and it has this like off-white color, so it looks very clean and minimalist. Yeah, just a really neat accessory if you need that. What's neat about if you have a laptop studio or book, and people forget about this, they didn't realize that because I posted the photo of it, you can reverse fold the Surface Laptop Studio, which people don't realize. So you can not only bring this display forward and lay it down flat, but you can also flip it around so the screen is backwards and use it that way. And so you can reverse mount this Surface Laptop Studio on this stand, and it makes the display like 9 inches closer to you. And all you would see then is just the display. You don't see the laptop anymore. It's a pretty wild setup. I think it's super clever if you have a Surface Laptop Studio and you just want to use that as your main laptop. I would totally use this thing all the time. It's just more comfortable. So. And then I think we just had one more review. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, Insta361RS, a Leica Edition review, is an action cam, the best webcam. Well, that looks kind of interesting. Yeah, it's one of those little webcam things. I have no use for that, but it's kind of cool. So I think this is for the review roundup. Did you have a thing of the week, Zach?
I don't think I do this week. Sadly, haven't really been watching much. Yeah, no, I don't have one. Do you?
Fair enough. I started watching Euphoria. Well, we started watching Euphoria on HBO Max, the show with Zendaya. It's basically like My So-Called Life, which is way too old for you to remember. So it's a high school drama show, just way more drug use and nudity and sex than. I don't know. As an old guy, I'm kind of creeped out watching it. I'm like, I shouldn't be watching this. Like, this is just awkward, man. But it's done really well. The cinematography is fantastic. It's got music every 5 minutes, which is a little bit annoying. It starts almost like kind of Fight Club-ish because Zendaya is the narrator to the show, and there's lots of like alternate flashbacks and all this kind of stuff to it. But it's really good drama. Like, it's one of those shows you watch, you're hooked on it. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened, or what's going to happen next. But then like I could just kind of feel like I just had like a soda. It was just like, all right, I don't know, I feel a little empty after it. But it's a good show. We just started season 2, so I'll probably go through that. But
did you watch the new Lord of the Rings show yet?
God, no, I hate Lord of the Rings.
Me too. And
I'm sorry if you're a big,
yeah.
I'm sorry if you're a fan. Don't hate me for it, but I really just if you love it, by all means love it. I'm not saying you're wrong for loving it. I'm just saying I personally hate Lord of the Rings. I hate. This is just my weird bias. I don't like little short hobbit people. I don't like things with hairy feet. I hate anything that happens where there's wizards. I hate anything where everybody's just poor looking.
Yeah.
They're wearing sacks on them.
I hate things where there's no technology.
Yeah. Like even Game of Thrones, all I think about half the time is like, No one shaves their armpits. Guys, bro, 7 bathed in 4 days.
Yeah.
There's no toilet paper yet. They haven't invented that. Uh, Life just looks like it sucked.
Yeah.
Like that's all I think about when I'm watching this. It's like how terrible things are. Of course, I get the joke, which is 100 years from now, people are gonna look back at my life and be like, "Wow, savages."
Yeah.
Can't believe they lived like that, which is fine. That's the way evolution works. But yeah, even like Game of Thrones was just kind of a, had better writing, I suppose. But I just cannot do Lord of the Rings at all. I'd rather watch Star Trek. Which now I'm gonna anger the Star Trek fans.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Whatever. Yeah, so I guess that does it for this podcast. Of course, we'll do some Q&A now with the audience. If you're listening to this live, of course, you can now ask us questions about what we talked about in the podcast or other things we haven't talked about in the podcast. If you're listening to this recorded, you do not get to hear that, but you can join us every Friday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time on our YouTube channel where we do this live. Next week, we should have Jess Corden back as well to make even more conversation. Hopefully, I will be back from Israel, assuming I get my paperwork straightened out. And we'll talk about that, what I learned from Intel there. So just to be clear, yeah, so we're getting a tour of their lab where they design everything and invent new technologies. And then we're going to see the fab where they actually make the processors, as well as I get to interview a bunch of the executives talk about future of laptops, chips, processors, technology in these laptops, desktop stuff as well. As you can imagine, yes, the M1 and ARM will definitely come up in my conversations with them. I told them specifically I'm interested in that stuff. So look for a couple articles focusing on that as well as my experiences there. As always, follow me on Twitter, Daniel_Rubino, Rubino. Follow Zach at ZACBOWDEN. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care, everyone.
Brilliant. So yes, if you have any questions, now's the time to ask them. We'll hang around for 10 or so minutes and do our best to answer. Yeah, I'm not too sure if I'm going to keep this iPhone pre-order. I might cancel it. I'm so on the fence about it. It's expensive, man. It's £1,200. £1,200.
Yeah, that's how I felt about the Fold 4 even after my trade-in.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I packed it up and sent it back because I was like, but that was just like, damn, that's $1,000 still. Like,
yeah,
I could use.
Did you send your trade-in already, or did you not send it yet?
It's boxed up. I got to take it and a couple of laptops and drop it off at FedEx either today or tomorrow before I leave.
So you
but yeah, it was. No, I'm not keeping it. I box it up. It's getting ready to go back.
So what I was asking is the trade-in devices that you were going to trade in for it.
I haven't sent in. No, I haven't sent in the Flip. Sorry. Yeah, so that's null and void.
So I'm wondering what happens if you send in the devices and then you decide that you don't want the phone anymore. Do they send you?
Hopefully, they give you like 2 weeks. I think.
Yeah,
which would be enough time. But yeah, I think I had actually today was the last day I could send in the Flip and get. It had to be like postmarked today in order for them to. Thing. But I will say at least Samsung, what I like about them when you do the trade-in, they give you the discount up front.
Yeah.
And then you have to send in the device. Apple doesn't do that. No. Apple is like, oh, you want to do the trade-in? All right, you're still paying full price.
Yeah.
We'll send you a box, you'll send it in, and we'll credit you later. It's like, oh man, Samsung's actually doing better.
For a while, they were doing that. It was horrible in the UK. They would do it so you trade in your device and they'd give you Apple Store gift card credit. So you could put it towards the new phone. So what? Just charge back the thing that I'm buying it. Just charge back what I'm using to buy. It's a nightmare. Is Microsoft going to bring more Microsoft stock apps with Android 12 out, such as Microsoft Wallet, Messages, etc.? Not as far as I'm aware. Certainly not Microsoft Wallet. And I have asked if they're going to build their own stock apps for phone and messages. And I think it's something they want to do eventually, but it's not happening with 12L. Any news of refreshing the Slim Pen 2? Want to add it to Duo 2, but don't want to time it wrong. Not as far as I'm aware. I think the next Slim Pen update is next year, not this year. What do you guys think about the satellite SOS feature? That's another thing we should have talked about. How focused on death this event was, and almost dying.
Yeah, because all old people use iPhones and
Yeah.
Apple Watches.
Every
Right?
single
They're
product
becoming.
had a SOS sort of
It's the new
focus.
life alert. If you
Yeah.
don't know, a life alert was that little thing old people would wear, and they fell, they would hit a button, it would call the
Yeah.
police. That's what those things are. I mean, I think it's good. But they're also doing like funny things like the Apple Watch now adds a skin temperature sensor, but my Aura
Sure.
Ring has had that forever. So, it's catching up. Uh, yeah, I guess it's good stuff, right? It's using technology to help save lives, which is
Hmm.
good. So.
Zach, do you know if the upcoming Fluent design in Duo OS is Windows 11 like, or Fluent design we have in Android apps like Outlook or Office? I don't think Outlook and Office have Fluent design on Android. If they do, I think they're only using like wireframe icons, which there's a bit more than that in the OS. Like there's blurred effect, the animations are much smoother. Um, Yeah, no, I think it's a little bit Windows 11y. Obviously, it's still very much an Android phone. Don't expect things like a start menu and whatnot. It's still launcher with a swipe up to get to an all apps list and stuff like that. Just design elements of that are sort of inspired by the design elements you find on Windows 11 from an aesthetic perspective, not from a positioning or behavior perspective. Can we expect the full version 22H2 update to finally? Well, that question's. I assume you're asking, will Android app support come to more regions finally? I think the plan is that will happen on top of 22H2 at some point. I don't think it'll be there for launch, but it will happen over the course of the next year, I think. Do you think Microsoft would one day revive Windows Mobile? No, I do not, unfortunately. Now that Microsoft has firmly grasped Android, that will be their mobile platform going forward. Studio refresh and more colors expected. Studio refresh, yes. More colors, no. That will not be happening. Any updates on Project Volterra? I believe we're probably going to hear more about it in October, alongside the other surfaces. Satellite feature is going to be the default in the next few years. I'm not entirely convinced that's true, because the feature on the new iPhones is not just a connect to a satellite and text your friends. It's a very specific feature for emergencies. It sends basically an SOS text to emergency services, and you can also send your location data to, I think, friends and family. But it requires a lot of effort and concentration. You have to hold the phone up to point it at a satellite, which there's an app on the iPhone that will help you sort of guide to the nearest satellite you can point at. You have to be in open skies with no obstructions, no trees, no nothing. You have to be in an open area, and you have to hold your phone up. And in the videos, it looks like it happens within a few seconds. But I was reading online, this will probably take a few minutes to actually make the connection and send something. It's not a fast data connection. It's very slow, and it's very it's for emergencies. It really is just for emergencies. You won't be making phone calls on it and stuff. Is 22H2 still planned for the 20th of September? My reporting has not changed on that as far as I'm aware. That date could have slipped. I don't know, but I've also not heard anything else. So I'm still, I heard September 20th. So that's the date I'm still thinking is going to be the case.
Will there be a Surface event this year with new Surface Pro? Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to. They have one every single year in the fall.
Surface
so
is cancelled.
Yeah. And yeah, there'll be a new Surface Pro 9. We get a new Surface every year, so I wouldn't be surprised. Refresher with the latest 12th gen, but it's not gonna be a redesign or anything.
Pro 9, Intel and ARM. That's it. That's what we need to know. And 5G. Do you guys have any news about Windows Moments we haven't heard of? No, not really. The first one I'm hearing will be in October. The second one will be maybe February, sort of early 2023. Sorry. And then the next one I think is summertime. Moment 3 will be sometime in the summer, and then Moment 4 I guess will be maybe October 2023. I don't know. And regarding what will be in them, all I know is Moment 1 will be tabs and file explorer, suggested actions, and a couple of other things like the updated open with dialogue and whatnot. The February one may be the tablet optimized taskbar and system trade stuff, but that also could be summertime as well. It's really difficult to figure out what will be in all of these, and it's also worth noting that not all of the moments will have notable new features in them. Some of them will be relatively minor. What is a Microsoft moment? Good question. So we call them moments because that's what Microsoft calls them internally. I don't know if they'll actually be called moments externally. That might just be internal jargon. But essentially, moments are feature drops for Windows, for the shipping version of Windows. Similar to what Pixel gets. If you're not familiar with Pixel, Google every month or every couple of months will do a thing called the feature drop, Pixel feature drop, which is where they add new features to the Pixel devices outside of major versions of Android releases. A lot of the time, it's features that were coming in the next version of Android, backported to the previous version of Android and shipping on top of the previous version on Pixel devices. That's basically what they're doing with Windows. There's feature drops every few months. They call them moments internally. And those moments will consist of features that are in testing in the dev channel, which is, air quotes, the next version of Windows, which isn't actually true. It's just the active branch. But they will backport them from the active branch into a moment and ship them on top of version 22H2. Nero, I already answered that question, so skip back if you missed it. Jensen Harris came out against the Windows 11 start menu, and I'm just curious if for the next major version of Windows, will the start menu go back to left aligned by default like the old days? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so, no.
There's no widespread evidence yet that
it's just
everyone hates it. What happens is just like anything else, and maybe I'm not saying it's not true. Maybe like 80% of people use Windows 11 hate the new menu. I don't know. I presume Microsoft has some data and telemetry on this, but I think we shouldn't get caught up in high-profile people expressing their opinions as necessarily reflecting everyone else's. That's the problem with Twitter and social media, is that when things happen, it's easy to, and there is a criticism too that Jensen Harris was responsible for the Windows 8 UI, which was a complete disaster. So maybe he's not necessarily the best person to go to this. Of course, people are divided. Some people love the Windows 8 UI, but and I get the appeal to it. It was nice for tablets, but as a a business move for Microsoft, it was a complete disaster, and a lot of people ended up hating it. Right? So I don't know. I'm not sure if he's the best to go to on this, but it's an interesting take, and his opinion is valid like anyone else's.
Yeah, I would say I assume there will always be the option to left align it, but I don't think it will go back to being left aligned by default. Not unless the UI paradigm shifts and that becomes sort of in fashion again. Because if you've noticed, Windows was the last to center its dock of sorts. Yeah. Chrome OS does it, Mac OS does it, iPad OS does it, Android does it, iPhone does it. Windows didn't. Windows was the last one to do it.
And I'll say it again, it makes so much sense if you use either a large display or an ultra-wide display. Having a center dock is just amazing. I definitely do not want a left align. It doesn't make ergonomic sense at all. At least if you're clicking.
All right, any more questions? Last call for questions, then we are going to head off for the weekend.
All righty, I think that's it.
Yep. Okay, thank you for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back next Friday. Follow us on Twitter. We'll keep you updated when we go live. But until then, we will see you next time.